My name is Anna Silk. For 6 seasons, I played Beau on the hit TV series Lost Girl.
And my name is Rachel Skarsten. For 3 seasons, I played Tamsin.
Welcome to the Lost Girl Rewatch Podcast,
A show where we will look at all the episodes, share some behind-the-scenes stories,
and chat with some very special guests.
On the show, our relationship was sometimes rocky.
But in life, our friendship is rock solid.
We are so glad you are here to join us for this trip down memory lane.
We love that the family is back together again. This is podcast episode 8, where we're going to be discussing episodes 15 and 16 of season 2. We are so excited, Rachel, right? So excited because we feel like we struck gold with our guest today because there's so much we can talk about with her. And I know fans are going to be super excited. Do you want to tell everyone who's here?
Kat Barrell.
Oh, welcome, Kat. Hello.
Hello. This is so fun, guys. I'm so glad we're doing this.
I know. We feel like we were just saying before, we feel very lucky to have you.
Oh, yeah. A pleasure. It's such a pleasure. We're very lucky to be invited.
And we're just going to address what I'm sure most every fan listening, because there's so much crossover between our 2 shows of Lost Girl and Winona Earp. What everyone is wanting us to ask, you just got back from Calgary.
We did, yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so can you tell us anything about it?
What can I mean, it was funny. I really was concerned about going back and playing a character that's been almost 2.5 years, or it has been 2.5 years. And I really was like, I kind of need like a rehearsal. I don't know how to get back into the skin of this person. And it came back so quickly. It felt like we never left. It was really weird. It really felt, and I think too, because we see each other at cons and we have such a great relationship and we maintain our friendships, like, we are genuinely really good friends outside of ERP. So it didn't feel like we hadn't talked to each other in 2.5 years because we talk all the time, but it felt really like we hadn't left. It felt like we had gone for a 2-week hiatus, which was so cool. It was great. It was so great. Like, I can't believe we got to do it again. What a gift.
I know.
Did you know, like, how long have you known? Can you say that? How long you've known?
How long have I known? I mean, Emily and like the story got greenlit soon. Like, Emily had to pitch, obviously, the whole story and they had to approve it before we got the official green light to go ahead. And then how long have I known? I mean, so they kind of softly gauged like interest and availability maybe in the September. It's such a blur. Maybe September, and like, what are we now? March. And then I think we got like we didn't get an official contract until late November, early December, I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's fast.
Yeah. So pretty fast. But I know like Emily had been working on it and developing the story. And I'm pretty sure she opened the writer's room for a couple days and brought some of the writers back just to kind of go through the story. She did the writing, but I think she brought some of the writers back just to sort of have a sounding board of,
I actually have a question though, because so people are always saying, are you going to do a Lost Girl movie and that kind of thing? And I was thinking, well, all of our sets and none of that is there anymore. Yeah. I imagine I've been on your sets. Anna's been on your set.
Yeah.
They were great. But was that all in storage? Did it come back? How does that work?
No, we got rid of a lot. We had like an auction, like a huge buy everything auction. So it was like, I guess we're done.
You're like calling people, being like,
hey. So we did have an amazing fan that we did have fans reach out who were like, do you want this back? Do you want
oh my God, that's very sweet.
Of course they did, because they're so amazing. I'm like, do you want the truck back? Because the truck is like, I think this fan lives in the southern United States. The truck is far away. But we, no. So what we ended up doing, which was a bit challenging, was that a lot of I feel like, Anna, you might have did you shoot on the homestead?
Yes,
At the ranch? Did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. So we used the exterior. We usually use that, but and the interior was in the studio. They built the interior inside that set, which was basically like, just pieces of wood. There's no insulation or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say it must have been freezing.
It was freezing. So we're wearing our indoor clothes.
And what about the Chinook? The Chinooks everyone talks about when you go to Calgary. They're like, don't worry, the Chinook.
What's a Chinook?
For 3 hours, it'll be warmer. But
it's no wind that comes through or something.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
Serious wind that's supposed to make it tropical for like 5 seconds, but just gives you a massive migraine.
God, I can't believe I've never heard that of a Chinook.
Really?
I thought it was like a brand of like jacket.
No one sold you that line when you went there.
No, it was freezing. I remember not being able to feel my feet.
Oh yeah.
Like walking and being like, I can't feel my feet.
But it's beautiful when you see it on camera.
It is beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's stunning.
It looks so good.
I know.
All right. Well, we'll bring it back to Lost Girl now.
Yeah. I mean, it's so exciting to hear that though. And one of our executive producers, Paul Rapovsky, he saved a lot of our sets. Did you know that? On Lost Girl.
No,
he saved them. Yeah, he saved the whole Dalriada. I don't know where they are now, but he saved them for years and years and years. So who knows? Who knows? But it's so cool that you got to do that. And it's so interesting to hear you say about, I know you and the cast are all really good friends still, and that's the same as Lost Girl. And I have to wonder, not even wonder, it has to be said that I think part of the reason those shows bonded all of us is the fan base.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because we come together to reach out to fans who are watching, and it kind of solidifies this family, because it's the same with us.
Seeing one another all the time, because
it keeps you seeing one another.
In the same city, and you get to go to these Comic-Cons together, and you make more memories, and so, like you said, it's sort of in a way like the shows never end, which is really. I mean, you have to like each other to start. We all like each other.
you can't hate each other.
Show never ends. It's a nightmare. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Anna. Like the completely, I think going to the cons is what keeps you in touch because, as you said, Rachel, we don't live in the same cities, and we're all going off and working on different things and have lives and families and are busy. But when you get to go on vacation essentially kind of with your friends for these long weekends to these crazy places. I mean, how many people do you get to have those weird memories of like amazing restaurants and like this city? That's crazy. We're so lucky.
Yeah. I know.
I've been to Australia with you. I haven't been to Australia with my husband.
And one of my favorite dinners, actually, Kat, was with you and a big group of women at that big round table in some restaurant somewhere. I forget where we were. I don't know. But do you remember? It was across the street from our hotel. And it was this big round table. So we all got to like see each other. Zoe was there.
Yep.
You were there. Tamara was there.
Somewhere.
Yes, it was.
House or something.
It was some kind of steakhouse. Yeah. But I just remember that dinner.
Nice. It's also so nice to get to talk to other actors, and
I know,
especially with self-tape and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like very sometimes disconnected.
Totally isolated.
We just don't. Yeah. You're like creating in this vacuum, and I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. This is exactly where I am right now, is where I do all my tapes. Like a background goes here. Yes. And then like,
this is my little, yeah.
Actually, those are my lights right there.
Are they?
Yeah. It's created a different experience of the industry, I think, for all of us. So getting to go to cons and all that kind of stuff is a gift. It really is. And I don't know if you've noticed this, like we haven't done a Lost Girl con in a while because Lost Girl's been off the air long enough for us to make a rewatch podcast.
How long has it been? I was trying to.
So we started airing in 2010. So it's 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we're into season 2 now on this podcast. And so that would have been like
2015. think, didn't we?
Yes.
wow.
Only because my second son was born in 2016. That's how I remember.
So almost 10 years.
But you know what's really cool is to go to like any cons I've gone to in the last couple of years, which has not been very many, but I am meeting fans of Lost Girl who are like 18. Like they just discovered it.
That's so cool.
And so like it's this new wave of fans. So like for them it's so relevant and new, and it's been so crazy to rewatch the show because I haven't watched it in so long. I'm enjoying it so much, especially season 2 because I don't remember any of the story.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to watch, and like it's kind of timeless except for some of our flip phones. It kind of, but that kind of works. It's like, it's a weird show, right? So like there could be flip phones. Why not?
I hear flip phones are coming. I hear they're coming.
You know what? I just think landlines.
People are too tired of always having like all the apps and stuff, and the flip phones gonna come.
Yeah, I just want a phone. I know. You could have a whole.
I know,
but it's that.
I know.
I just hope that once my kid is old enough to use social media, it doesn't exist anymore. That's all I'm hoping.
You know what? I'm going to send you guys a really good podcast about phones and how it has changed childhood. And it was the iPhone 4 apparently that changed it, because that's when you got a front-facing camera. And that's what changed everything.
I really feel like Snake changed the game for me.
What is that?
What?
Snake?
The game Snake on your phone?
I don't know that.
You know, it was like a little thing and it went beep, 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 beep. And you had to like eat the little dot, and then you couldn't touch any part of your snake body.
It's like Pac-Man, but the chain of danger gets longer.
God, I don't know that game. I probably still had my flip phone, because when I started Lost Girl, I had the hot pink Razor phone.
Yeah, but it was on those phones. It was on those phones.
No, I'm not. I don't do that. I can't access that stuff. It's not that I don't do it, because I can't. I literally can't do it. I'd rather play X and O's on paper. That's how archaic I am.
That is actually true about you.
Yeah. But Kat.
Yes.
Table for Faye was the name of your episode.
Yeah.
It was directed by David Green. I don't know if you remember that. David Green was our DP. So you might not remember, but what we want to hear, of course. So this is what I want to know. I want to know your audition story, if you remember it. I want to know where you were at in your life, in your career, whatever was going on when you did Lost Girl. And I want to know your memories or experiences, which may be like a second long because it's so long ago. But it's so crazy to watch you in this episode.
So crazy. I'm like an infant.
I know. And I love that as an infant, you're going to like a clinic to get more youthful.
Like youthfulness. I was watching her say, her in this.
Yeah, it was so very, gosh. Okay.
I just have to say, I just want to say one thing. Look who's calling me. David Green.
No.
Yes. I'm not going to answer right now, obviously, but isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
He and I are still very good friends. So that's really weird. So yes.
God, what do I remember? Like I think it was one of my first jobs at a theater school.
Wow.
For sure. So I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I remember, here are like the few things that foggy. I think I was only on set for 2 days. Mm-hmm. I was like 2 scenes. I remember, this is like one of the most ridiculous things to remember. I remember being in my wardrobe fitting, and I had on these, like, they put me in these very distressed ripped jeans because I was this hitchhiker and I was supposed to be very bohemian. And I remember looking at the price tag and they were like $400.
Right, of course.
Like,
yeah.
Why did they just go to Value Village and like make them? But I guess because they had to duplicate them for the other woman who I ended up morphing into.
Right.
Yeah. But I remember being like, wow, these guys have a lot of money.
I still think $400 is a lot of money for jeans.
It's a lot of money for jeans.
Like, how many years ago, though? Also,
it is crazy, the budget for wardrobe sometimes. Like it's crazy what, you know.
I don't think I've ever worn a pair of $400 jeans in anything I've ever done.
You know what? If I bought $400 jeans, I would never wear them because I'd be like, I can't wear those. Those are my $400 jeans. I have to save them for my $400 day.
All those things. No, I'm like, guys, if you can get Madewell's, amazing. If you're on a budget, go to American Eagle. These fit well too. Like I have my 2 brands and I'm like, this one or this one. And what else? And I remember you being very, very, very nice to me. Like I distinctly remember that because I was so nervous.
I'm so glad. I'm glad you remember that.
It's so nice and like genuine and gentle and you didn't make me feel like you know how sometimes you watch leads and they make day players kind of feel like just
day players
disposable.
Mm-hmm. I have been there as a day player. I've had those experiences where you just feel horrendous.
Yeah, me too.
And people are just like, oh, great. Thanks for coming. Next. You made me feel really welcome and like I actually existed. And I remember really appreciating
I'm so glad you have that memory. I'm really glad. That was important to me. And,
you did a great job.
People brought so much to the show. Like every single person that guest starred on that show
went on to do amazing things
and brought like
lead their own shows.
Life to our shows every day though. Like without them, there's no show,
completely.
You know?
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
And you had David Green directing you, who is also such a gentle, sensitive soul. So he would create an atmosphere on set for that episode and the crew knows him inside and out, you know? So you came onto a really good episode.
That's good to know.
Definitely.
But it was great and it was very quick and that's kind of all I remember.
Of course.
I mean, that was over.
More than I remember, so that's great. Hannah was like, oh, for next season, it's great because you're in all the episodes, so you'll remember it. I'm like, will I?
Will I?
I don't remember what I did.
I remember every prank I played, but I don't remember details.
I remember in watching, I remember more about what was going on around me in real life.
Yes.
More than I do story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, oh God, oh yeah, that character. Oh yeah, we go here, we do this. Oh yeah, this person dies. Like I just can't remember that stuff.
Yeah.
I have another question for you about audition stories. I'm curious about your Winona Earp audition story.
Oh yeah, and did it have like? Did Emily? Because you had obviously worked on Lost Girl. Was there any connection with that, or you came in and
for like a hot second I worked on Lost Girl? I don't know if you remembered. No, my audition story for Earp is interesting because I actually auditioned for Winona and Waverly.
Oh wow, yeah,
really?
Both of them, yeah. And I kept and it just wasn't the right fit. But like I don't know. Lisa was like Lisa's so amazing, but she was really supportive and really, I think, went to bat for me. And they were kind of trying to find. But the funny thing about my Winona Earp audition is that I never thought I would it was one of the ones, and like, what a lesson where, you know, you get an audition, you're like, I'm never going to book this, but sure, we'll give it a shot. That was my Nicole audition.
Wow.
Like I literally said to my husband the night before, I'm like, I'm never going to book this. I'll go, sure, and try. But I was much more, but it's also because I was in my very like young ingenue Waverly phase. And all through theater school, I was told that was the character I would always play.
Right.
So I think when I was like, well, they didn't cast me as Waverly and that's kind of my thing. So I don't how am I going to play this cop? It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like an ingenue. And I had that narrative for so long that I genuinely did. I never thought in a billion years. Never.
Isn't it funny how we're fed such crazy narratives when you're young? I mean, like for Lost Girl, by the time I got that audition, it was the same thing. I went, I'm not right for this. I can't do that.
Right.
I'll do what I see.
Right.
But I don't do that because that's not what I am, you know? And then I got the part. I mean, but I think because sometimes you bring something else to it because you're like, I don't see myself as the vixen sex pot, you know, like and I was always told like, that's not what you are.
And isn't it interesting? It's probably because you didn't lean into that and everyone you were up against did. That actually made you special.
I wonder if actors coming up now, particularly females, are still, I guess they're fed different things through social media, like different definitions of who we are. Like it's so hard not to let other people define you.
Even not to actors. I think everyone did that.
Yeah. It's so damaging, you know?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that you were able to book the part and then have that experience, right? To like stretch your idea of what you could be, quote unquote.
Yeah, absolutely. It made me think of myself. I mean, I still do play a lot of that part. Like, don't get me wrong. I still do. I work a lot for Hallmark and like live in that land a lot. But what a nice balance it is to play something. So like, I don't know. I play a lot of the lovers. Like Nicole is still very much like come into my arms and be cozy and warm lover. And like, that's definitely and I love playing in that zone. But, so they're all lovers.
That is natural to you though.
Yeah.
I always feel that way when I'm around you.
Oh,
it's like,
nice.
You always make me feel like we're like better friends than the time we've spent would justify. Does that make sense?
That's nice. That's very sweet. Yeah, that's very sweet. Thank you for saying that, Rachel.
Truth.
It's true. It's very true.
Oh.
Yeah. So our next question.
My next question is about, I wrote this question down and then I was like, I can probably answer it as well. But how has the show and the fan base influenced your life? Winona Earp, not Lost Girl. How did the episode of Lost Girl you did?
They do cross over a lot.
They cross over a ton.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. So, and also Rachel and I need to talk about the fact that we both guest starred on your show. Like we both came onto Winona Earp, and then that enabled us to go to some Earp conventions, which was so interesting for me because I would meet, there's so much crossover, but then I'd meet people who'd be like, I love Winona Earp. I've never watched Lost Girl. I'm going to watch Lost Girl. And I'm thinking, what? This is so weird, because it's just an interesting thing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you should watch,
I actually thought it was like someone made a mistake when they invited me to the Winona Earp convention. I was in one episode. I feel like an imposter.
But I think it is also the crossover.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So anyway, we asked you a question and then.
Oh gosh. How has it changed my life? Like, oh God, where do I even, okay. So, from a work perspective, just to have, be on a show that is, popular by a large part because of the fan base and because of how active they are and how supportive they are. And that has allowed us to shoot more and more and like actually be a working actor. So like, just like nuts and bolts that. I think also I could have gone my whole career without having any connection to people who actually enjoyed the work.
I know.
We created this
That's
vacuum.
the crazy part. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can easily go most people go their entire acting careers never really getting feedback. Like, can you imagine if you opened a store and you never met a customer? Like, that's kind of what it's like.
It feels all like output.
Yeah.
It's like output. But we have like this energy that goes back and forth.
Exactly. And that energy, like you said, that feeding is so invigorating and it's like sustenance. It just kind of keeps you going because you have a touchstone for, I think sometimes acting I've had the moments where I'm like, is what I do for a living so ridiculous? Like, am I, you know what I mean? Like, am I contributing anything valuable to the world? And the fans have affirmed a huge yes.
Yes.
And like, that's so validating as a person to make you feel like what you're doing matters and how much it matters to somebody and how it's completely changed my mind on the value of storytelling and how important art is. And even over, the pandemic, seeing that even more, like what did everybody do while we stayed home and watched movies?
I couldn't agree more on that point because I think the first con I ever did, I knew we had fans, But then when I met people that would like come to my table and then they would share their own story with me and trust me with that story. Yeah. And I'd think, oh, you're not just a fan of the show. Like this matters to you. This means something. This has touched you. And so then it touches me and then it matters more to me. Like I'm like, oh,
yeah, but don't you
see yourself
like that? I have shows like that I that walked with me through times of my life that I'm so grateful for, that, or actors that I'm such a big fan of. I think like I've told this story at cons a lot, but when I met Adam West, because I loved Batman when I was a little girl, and Adam West Batman would always be on reruns and I'd watch it and I'd go like, kapow, kapow. Yeah. And then I met him and I blacked out. Like I blacked out. I don't know what I said. I remember saying to Holly after, who for you guys listening, it's our mutual Comic-Con agent. I was like, Holly, like, was I weird? And she was like the sweetest woman on the planet. She was like, no. I was so weird.
You're like, I was weird.
Well, you know, art inspires, right? So like, it's like I've got 2 little boys. They're super into karate, et cetera, et cetera. And I will come into their room sometimes and they're just like in there by themselves going like, like they're like acting something out.
Yeah.
And they're telling, and they see something, they'll see something and decide this is what I'm going to do. Like I can do this. I can, and that's what they should be. I'm like, be curious about all of it. Like my youngest one wants to be a sumo wrestler at the moment. And I'm like, great, be curious about it. Go for it. And he's written a plan on his whiteboard and all this stuff. And he's like, it inspires people. Mm-hmm. And so I think, the relationship, your central relationship on Wynonna Earp and the central relationship that I had on Lost Girl, people were able to see themselves in those relationships in a really honest way, even though it was in a fantastical world. Yes. Even though we're fighting monsters or whatever, there's an honesty in the relationship and it matters to people and it's beautiful. I've gotten the most beautiful letters. I've gotten the most wonderful, thoughtful gifts. That will never go away. When we're all like going to the con in our walkers, I don't know what that's going to look like. It will still matter to people. I hope. Come out and see us. But it's true. And that's a really unique experience.
Completely. Very, very.
Yeah. It's really pretty beautiful.
And being part of people's journeys, like we've had fans who have met each other and gotten married, and
yes, I think I've been at a wedding that like Emily officiated, and I was at one of the cons. I'm like, wow.
I mean, just like these shows are both such integral parts of like the weave of people's lives, and the cons are a huge part of that because it's an opportunity to meet. And they also just affirm for me our need for human connection, like to actually gather physically in a space, especially as our world becomes more and more digital. And the list goes on, but like you said, seeing people, having this be such a big part of other people's lives and clear markers in their journey. I have those clear markers too of like, this is when we were doing that season and this is when we were shooting this. And I think fans have that too. This is the year that I went to my first con. This is the year that, I met up my partner on a chat room and then we, it's really cool. It's very cool to be a part of a community.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a mom.
Yes.
Rachel, you're a mom.
Yeah.
I am. We're all moms.
We're all moms.
How has that changed you guys in terms of what you do? I mean, I'm asking the question, but also could talk about it as well and will. Yeah. But it's it really shifts things. Would you agree?
Oh, Rachel, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's shifted what, like, the parameters around which I'm willing to work. That's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed, because in the past, I was like down to clown with whatever. Like, you want me to go to New Zealand for 10 months? Like,
I know.
Shoot 24 hours a day. Like,
actually, I was always in awe of that. Like, Rachel would say yes. I'd be like, you say yes to everything. And she's like, yeah, why wouldn't I? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, yes, I have never been to Whitehorse. Or like, yes, I've never, and I'd be like, wow.
On my bucket list, though.
No, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But because I was living my life for me, and having those adventures and stuff. But now the framing of my life has changed so drastically. This little human that I just want to be with and to nurture. And so, of course, I always also need, as a mother, to nurture the artist within me and to create and to do things. Some of that is satisfied in being a mother, because motherhood is very creative. You have to be very creative. But I can't just, it's not just me anymore. I can't just uproot my whole family in the same way that I could. And so I think, whereas before it was just about the adventure and the art, now it's also about the feasibility for other people, and does that work for them? Is that going to be good for them? Because I don't want to be apart from him, and I want him to be happy. So that's probably the biggest change, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kat?
Oh man. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Just the parameters under which I can work have changed so much. I mean, I think, Rachel, do you remember in Australia when I told you that I thought I might be pregnant in the car? So I'm having a baby in 2 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I was dying to ask you, but
oh my gosh.
Who has experienced pregnancy loss, like also not like thinking I was pregnant, then not being pregnant. It's something that you never want to ask, but I was like dying to ask.
I should have told you. Yeah. So
wow.
It's been a crazy, I'm really in it.
Wait, did you manage to like hold off and test when you got home?
I did, yeah, because I was like, I'm not going to find out by myself in Australia. I wanted to wait to come home.
I couldn't have waited.
I don't think I could have waited either.
Sticks everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, I know sticks everywhere. No, but I had said to you, like, I had a pregnancy loss. It's almost been a year. I was shooting away and I had an ectopic, and I had to I was on my way to get on the plane to go home after the shoot. And, I'd had this horrible pain. I was sitting with my director and she's like, you need to go to the hospital. So instead of getting on our flight, we got in an ambulance and I had emergency surgery that night.
Oh my God.
So it's been I feel like I've been pregnant forever because I was pregnant and then I wasn't for 2 months and then I got pregnant again. So I'm really thinking about this right now because I've just finished Melanie Skarsten, who of course you guys both know, just co-directed a movie in South Africa in December, and we're just finishing up the post on it now. And then I'm sort of taking a self-imposed bit of a mat leave, but it's, and I didn't do that with my first. And I am, thinking about, there's so many things. I'm now in a different place where I feel confident that I will work on the other side of it, but there's still this fear of you work contract work, and what happens if you don't follow through on the momentum, and then you're just
if you get out of line, it feels like you're getting out of the line of.
Totally.
I don't mean get out of line. I just mean the literally line up. Yeah.
And it's scary, and
you also don't want to rob yourself of the preciousness of that time.
No.
So it's scary in both ways because. You never know. I even feel with my son, you never know what baby's going to be your last baby, what experience is going to be your last experience. And there's even things I went back to work and I was still breastfeeding, and I was still breastfeeding when I did the con with you. I'm in the room, pumping my boobs. And I look back now and I'm like, I'm glad I did it and it's fine. Would I do it again? Probably not, you know? And so I totally understand where you're coming from, wanting to take that time. But I also remember in Australia talking to you about even going to South Africa and how difficult that was in terms of the distance from your family.
Oh my God, I was dreading. It was very hard. Like, I will not sugarcoat it. I cried a lot. I was also very, very, very sick. Like, this pregnancy has been really tough physically. I have, like, poor Melanie has cleaned up some nasty shit. Let me just tell you that. God bless her.
That is a good friend. That is a very good friend.
She's where we are trauma bonded to the max. So it was just like, it was a tough pregnancy. I was just very nauseous, and then I got norovirus when I got there. So I had like a stomach flu on top of, which is like crazy.
God.
So I was on some like intense drugs. But sorry, I'm like losing. I have so much.
Oh, about working on the other side.
Working on
time off.
I'm taking some time off. So trusting. So I think changing my career, like you said, Rachel, you have to say no to things that before you'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll be there tomorrow, no problem. Let me just pack my
I said no to something for the first time, I think, in my entire career last week, and it
was it tough,
painful. Like I was on, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Did you hear me? No.
I know. No. Like, it was really hard, but it just was not going to work with my son. And I was like, well, like, yeah, that's just the way that it's going to be.
And how fortunate we are that you are in a position where you can say no. Like, that's never lost on me when I can say no to things. But it's hard because I also love what I do, as you too. And it's, and then the guilt and the being away and the inconsistency for your kids. And when you come back and you see their little face, like when I was in Calgary recently, my son would FaceTime and Ronan would say, Mama, I need you. And I was just like, oh God. Like, I was awful. It gets harder as they get older because now they can communicate with you on that. And it is like, oh my God. We don't really totally understand. You're trying to say like, how much time? He's like, I don't know. 3 weeks is an eternity for me. What do you want from me?
For sure. And it is just it's just very different. A lot of my friends who go back to work, they work 9 to 5 jobs. So they're still home for bath time. When we go, exactly, you're gone for 3 weeks. Or even if you're filming a job in your hometown, which is never. You're still gone. Or when I take my son, with me, I still don't see him because I'm leaving before he wakes up and coming home after he goes to sleep. And it's really, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really,
you guys balance the thing of like, so Ray and I, we did a Hallmark movie in the fall. And that's when I was really starting to feel my symptoms of my pregnancy. And we brought Ronan. And Ray did he shot 5 days on the movie and I was there for 16. And it was like hell because Ronan was out of his routine. We all got sick. I was already sick. And my parents came and we were living in the hotel. And you guys know the baby toddler stage of life. You've got so much shit with you.
Stuff. I know all the stuff
everywhere. It was a miracle we could close the car. Like it was, it's just, I'm just like, this is so, and so you go like, what is easier? Are they benefiting from coming with me and changing the whole routine and bringing all stuff? But like you said, Rachel, you barely see them. So unless like sometimes, Ray will bring him to set so I can say, but then it's like 5 seconds and I got to go and 5 seconds more. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what the hack is. I don't know if there is one. If you guys have figured it out, please let me know. But like, I can't figure out what's better. I can't.
I think it changes as they change ages too, right? Like anytime I've been away now, because my boys are 8 and almost 11.
Yeah.
I just get, they're like,
"Mom,
hey mom. Yeah. They're like, you having fun? I'm like, are you guys doing okay? They're like, yeah. I'm like, they're like, we're having so much fun with dad. I'm like, okay, are you brushing your teeth? You're brushing them twice a day, right? You got to brush them twice a day. Cause like that, they can be like, oh yeah, we forgot. I'm like, you can't forget.
Yeah.
But like they have a great time and you know, it's a different age, but I mean, Rachel knows this, but I had Sam at like the height of filming Lost Girl. It was between season 3 and 4. And I went back to season 4 when he was 5 weeks old. I mean, 5 weeks. I was not even healed from
let me tell you,
delivery.
It was insane. First of all, we called her the milk marm because she just had these massive boobs. And she was like, between takes, she'd have to go and pump.
As soon as the sound would get muffled, because my mic, as soon as it would get muffled, and Rochelle, the boom op, remember she'd come up and be like, your sound is muffled again. And I'd be like, okay, I got to go pump. You know?
I remember just seeing you throughout the season, like almost, I don't know, like the life was like draining.
I know, literally.
I was like, believe you did that. Like even then when I was almost a decade away from having children myself and not thinking about kids at all, I thought this is nuts.
Well, we don't have the perspective of like what it does to you physically and then what that physically does to you mentally. And, you know, like it's a process. But I will say like, some advice that I got from this naturopathic doctor that I knew at the time, which was so good because I was pregnant with Sam. We were going back to, you know, do the next season. And I said to him, like, and we wanted this pregnancy, like we planned this pregnancy, but I was like, how are we going to fit this baby into this crazy life? And he was like, you're not. You're going to have your baby and build your life around your family. And I was like, that's such a good perspective shift, because if you think of like wedging a baby into the craziness, you actually can't do that. But if your perspective is like, this is our bubble, let's build out from here, then you kind of start saying like no to that, or no to this, or yes to this, or how are we going to figure that out? And it's just a really like protected space, I feel like, to be in. And I loved that. It helped me so much at that time. No, it was still chaos when we went back. But, you know, I had my husband there. Sam was a newborn. Wherever we put him, he stayed. So it was a little bit easier. You know, he wasn't crawling. My mom was there to help. So even though it was nuts, the thing that I did though, it was the craziest season we had. It was the craziest shooting schedule. It had all these new elements on the show in terms of crew. And
I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't have a baby.
I had no idea what was going on. I was like, I was forgetting lines. Which was unlike me. Like there was one scene I remember where they had to feed me my lines so I could say them, because I was like sweating. I had nipple infections. I mean, like it was, and I'm in leather. It's so hot. Like it's just, it was so much. Anyway, but I forget I lost my train of thought now, what I was going to say about that. But it, you know, we got through, and I definitely wouldn't recommend going back to work, but I had this really, you know, I had a show where I was supported in every way that you can imagine. Like everyone supported me and helped me through that in the best way they could, even though you're working 18-hour days at the end of the day, you know? But it does change everything. And the biggest challenge for me with motherhood and performing is that I really had to develop a new relationship with the business too, not with performing, because like I love performing, and as you guys do, but the business started to feel really ugly to me. And it started to make me feel like I have to become this ugly thing to get the next job. Not that I was ever like this vicious actress in the, you know, but there's a kind of a predator thing that has to come out in us a little bit to get a job. And I never recognized it until I had kids, and it started to feel really ugly to me. And I was like, and so I got some great advice again, from a teacher that is still a very dear friend of mine, who said, like, you need to start thinking about developing a new relationship with the business. And I'm like, oh yeah. You know, it's just the same thing. It's just a shift of perspective. And it helped me a lot. Anyway, I just share that because I think it's important, and it is a journey. And I think we worry about, I definitely worried about after Lost Girl ended, we settled back into our home. We had another baby. I did have a pregnancy loss as well in between the pregnancies. And actually, I'll share this story. I've never shared this story, but I was at the doctor for my checkup with my husband and Sam, who was like 2, and all of our bags were packed. And we were supposed to go for our checkup and go to Toronto to fly to go do a fan event. But at that doctor's appointment, we found out that the baby, the heart was no longer beating. And so it was a pregnancy loss that was undetected. So anyway, so of course it's devastating. It's all of those things that people go through. But I had to cancel a fan event that I had to say I had a family emergency, but that actually was what had happened. So I had to stay home, and go through that loss. And it's a huge, it's the hormones just, and it's just, you don't think about how much of a loss that is. You think like miscarriages are normal, and they are, they are, but they're hard to get through. But then, we were fortunate enough to have Levi, my soon to be sumo wrestler. And, but I worried business wise about like chasing youth. You're like, oh, but I can still squeeze out a couple of years of like being on this side of youth,
and that's youth treatment. So she's fine.
Yeah. But you went through the youth treatment. Exactly. It's so funny watching that episode where like you see Bo, like, suddenly I have gray hair and they made me look older and they put those bites, like those big weird things on my neck. And I was like, oh, that's what I look like now. That's what motherhood has done to me. I'm like drained and like have big giant holes in my neck. Not really, but it was really funny to see that. But yeah, chasing youth, that's another big part of things. And I just kind of got over that too. Cause I thought, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like, what am I going to do? Like this is it. Like, this is where I'm at. These are the stories I have to tell now. And if someone doesn't want them, then onward, that's another message that we get, particularly as women in this business.
Yeah.
Oh, what a business. What a ride.
Cool. Great uplifting chat, guys.
I know. I feel like this is like the most serious we've ever gotten on this podcast. I mean, usually we're talking about behind the scenes stories and things like that. And, I realize for everyone listening, we haven't dug into episode 15 and 16 in the way that we normally do story wise. But, having you on, Kat, it has been so special for us. And we wanted to talk to you and get your experience and your perspective, because this podcast is a love letter to the fans. And we share so many of those fans. So
absolutely.
Thank you for being here with us.
It's my
and also
pleasure.
Congratulations on your Canadian Screen Award nomination.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And yours, Rachel.
Well, mine was for the film itself. I can't take credit for that.
Well, you can take some credit for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, I'm sharing the screen with 2 nominees right now.
You guys want to know something funny? Speaking of motherhood and CSAs, my baby is due 2 days before the ceremony.
Oh, wow.
Well,
I don't think I'm going, but yeah.
I was at an event, I think 6 days before Levi was born. And I wore these high heels. What was I thinking?
Oh my God.
I mean, there's photos of it somewhere where I'm like literally ready to pop. And I was like walking down this red carpet, like in these big heels. But it was hard. It was hard.
Oh.
But congrats on those nominations to both of you.
Thank you.
And also on everything. You're like
on everything.
The new movie.
Yeah.
New baby.
We're sending you the best vibes for this baby, and I hope to see you at a con really soon.
I hope so too. I want to see both of you guys in person again very soon, because we're all.
Well, are you going to now? I don't even know the timing of it. Will you be in Niagara Falls for the Europe convention?
So this is the plan, but hence the 1 week later baby is a bit of a wild card situation. Yeah. And I was like, I can't get any health insurance. So if anything happens, I have to like crawl across the border. So I mean, let me in.
They have to set your table up on the Canadian side, and then everyone can line up on the U.S. side. Yeah.
For a second, I was like, could I stay in Canada? Could we like shuttle people over? we literally, for Holly, like I've tabled but my plan is to be there. Yes, that is my plan, barring surprises.
Right.
Well, it'll only be a good reason if you're not there.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right, well, we'll see.
We'll see. Hopefully I'll get to see. Anna, are you going to that one as well?
No. Wait,
okay.
am I?
Do you have one that you're going to?
I feel like I have to respond to Holly about that one, maybe. That reminds me. Let me get on the phone. So maybe I will be there. I don't know.
I hope so. It would be so lovely to see both of you in person.
Yeah, it would be really nice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Kat.
This is such a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your time with us and sharing your time with the fans. Thank you to everybody listening. This was a very special episode for us and for you guys. And we will see you on the next one.
Okay, so for those of you who can see us right now, you can obviously tell we're in different clothing because we are recording part 2 of this episode, episode 16 today. And we recorded Speaking with Kat the other day, which was so lovely.
So lovely.
Yes. And quite frankly, we had so much to talk about. I'm pretty sure it might be one of our longest episodes.
So we've done like 2 episodes with her. I just feel like
I know. We could have kept talking. I could have talked to her forever. Yeah. But we're going to try to keep this part short. However, we did really want to talk a little bit about episode 16 because, of course, that is part of this week's episode. So, Anna, did you have any thoughts?
I did. So this episode 16 was titled School's Out, and it was written, this is kind of a cool little bit here. It was written by Harris Goldberg and Jay Firestone. And Jay Firestone is our executive producer, as many of you know.
Was this the first episode that Jay wrote?
I think the first and only one he wrote. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Jay, he always had a lot of input.
He did.
And for those of you who don't know, oftentimes your showrunner, so the head of your writer's room, will have a lot of input and direction on the story. Of course, they get notes from studios and things like that. But Jay, typically your executive producer isn't as involved as Jay was, but Jay was very passionate about the show. Mm-hmm. And it's actually quite, it's not normal to have an executive producer write an episode.
It's not, but
cool.
What was so cool about Jay is that he was very passionate about the show, but he also had just had so many ideas. You know, it's so many ideas, many of which came out in this episode. All of which came out in this episode. So, of course, I think, this is the one where Bo and Kenzie go undercover at a school. So Bo has to be like the sexy teacher and Kenzie has to be like a, kind of goth teenage girl. Story-wise, in terms of the whole season, Lauren is now back from her road trip with Nadia. So Nadia is now kind of back in the picture. I loved seeing the scene where Bo and Kenzie enter the school. And then Dyson, of course, is the guidance counselor, which is hilarious. And there were some great guest stars that come talk to him and girls crying in his office and him trying to figure it all out. Chris was hilarious, as you can imagine. I remember I was so nervous to film in front of a class. I had to go in front of a class and be the teacher. So it was background actors as well as some of the guest stars in that class. And I had to be like, my name's Bo, or whatever my name was, Mrs. whatever. I don't even remember if I said what my name was, but I remember writing it on the board. I remember I was so nervous because it just felt like,
it's so nerve-wracking filming. And it's weird because we go audition for people. I've been in theaters where there've been probably 50 executives at a studio sitting there watching me, and I'm not nervous about that because
oh my God, what is your secret?
I know, it's weird. I like it. I find it really fun, but part of it is because they're not actors, you know, so they are watching you perform.
Like you're the expert in the room in terms of what you do.
Exactly, than doing a play but when you're sitting in front of like, I remember doing this episode of Rain once, and it was like all these men at a table and I'm standing at the end, and I wanted to vomit. Like I was so nervous because they're other actors, and they're not saying anything. They're just staring at you doing what we all do. And so rather than it being this like collaborative thing, it feels like this judgy thing, even though they're not judging.
I know. Well, I think that's why I was so nervous in front of this class. Cause first of all, they were all young, like high school. So I felt like it was like art imitating life, like I felt like I was back in high school and everyone was going, should she really have gotten this job? I don't know. Like, should she be the lead of this show?
Yes,
I can't tell. That's probably not what anyone was thinking. Everyone was certainly lovely in the room, but God, was I nervous. I was like sweaty. And
so when you watch the episode, watch for
the sweat, like just like look under my arms extra close. I'm sure you'll see some sweat marks. I love Bo and Ryan in this episode. They have their breakup, and it's such a respectful, beautiful breakup. And Bo finally has her high school dance that she never had. And so Ryan sets up the gym, and they have this, and we got to the song Just One Look, which is like, how did they get that song? I know. And we're dancing to that song. Although I will tell you on the day I don't think we knew what we were dancing to. So we were just like, you know, I can't remember, to be honest. I just remember feeling kind of silly because there was no music playing, but it was such a nice breakup because it's done with so much love and affection for each other. And then they go their separate ways. Although he does come back. But, and then in terms of story with Nadia, towards the end of that episode, she's taking pictures of Lauren, and Lauren's being all sexy. And then you realize that Nadia has zoomed in on Lauren's necklace. So you realize that Nadia's got some nefarious dealings coming our way. So we wanted to touch on that episode. It was a lot of fun to film. I bet if you asked Ksenia or Chris, they would have fond memories of that one too, because we were at a real school. I don't remember where it was, somewhere in Toronto, and just had a lot of fun. So that's it.
Yeah. Were you filming in the summer? If you were in a real school, I always wonder this because we filmed in a school for a show and we had to do it at night.
No, this was in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So no
high school kids, just background pretend ones. Judging me. I have to go journal about this now.
Well, guys, thank you. All right. Thank you for watching this episode of the Lost Girl Rewatch podcast. You can listen wherever you get your podcast. And if you'd like to see this episode, you can join us on Patreon as a member of the family. All the information is on our website or the link in our Instagram.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Lost Girl Rewatch podcast, which is produced by Anna Silk, Rachel Skarsten, and Seth Cooperman, with theme music by our very own Blood King, Rick Howland. Please rate, review, and share the Lost Girl Rewatch podcast. This enables us to grow and continue bringing you exciting new content every week. If you don't already, follow us on Instagram and on our YouTube channel at Lost Girl Rewatch. You can also subscribe to Patreon, where you will get exclusive video access to all of our episodes.